Morning, YouTube friends. Happy Canada Day. Thinking about all of my community members in southwestern Manitoba who've experienced a lot of rain and a lot of flooding. So you're in my thoughts. Today, I want to talk about my morning lichen sclerosus skincare. If you are new to my channel, my name is Dawn and I have lichen sclerosus. And this is all about strategies to help you manage your lichen sclerosus symptoms. I believe when I talked in my first, one of my first videos about my diagnosis, I had left the doctors, they had prescribed the clobetasol ointment. And I thought, I'll go home and I'll use this ointment and everything will be better. Well, it really wasn't. Again, I'm just talking on behalf of myself, my symptoms, my management, what works for me. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical provider. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm simply telling you or suggesting what I have tried and what works for me. It can be very difficult. So I thought I would start with my morning, what my morning looks like. It's fairly consistent. And just to show you some of the products and what I do, what works for me. So to start off, I am a shower girl. I love to have my showers. When I was diagnosed with lichen sclerosus, that all changed. I started to have baths. I did start to have baths before I was diagnosed, simply because, again, it just felt like a hot, raw rash. Not sure what it was at the time, and I just felt like a bath would help. In the moment, it would help. For a short while, it would help. That was before I was diagnosed and received treatment. The comfort didn't last very long. It would just, the discomfort would come back very rapidly. And we're not just talking a discomfort. It was quite painful. So now I've kind of discovered what works for me. So I get up in the morning, I have my coffee, and I do have a bath. After I use the after I before I have a bath, after I use the washroom, I will use a Perry bottle. I'll use it one time in the morning. I believe I got this off of Amazon. I've had it for about 3 years now, maybe even 4 years, and I just wash it as needed. When I'm done with it, I just turn it upside down in my washroom and let it dry. This works very well, and I would highly recommend it to anybody who is having some severe symptoms. To me, the whole goal is just to keep your skin clean in that area, and you don't want any friction. So after I use this, I am going to just tap dry with toilet paper. I will then usually have my bath or my shower. And so I finished saying I wasn't taking as many baths. I do bath, but I was missing my showers. So I did buy a shower wand. It's upstairs in my upstairs bathroom. It's one of those wands that you can come down and use it. I can rinse off really well with that. And it gives me the comfort, the pleasure of having a shower. So then I will do that. I will dry off on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I will use my clobetasol. That's when I use it. That's how I was directed to using it. And I use the ointment. I was using the cream. Sorry, I'm all new to the camera and that. So I use the ointment. I use about a pea size amount and lightly apply it for about 60 seconds. I think you're not supposed to just like slap it on. You're supposed to like gently massage it in. So I will use this on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays mornings, right after I'm out of the bath or the shower. And then every morning I will use a barrier cream. Again, I showed this in one of the other videos. This is a medicated Penitin cream. You can get this exact tube not medicated. I don't know the difference between the two. This is just the first one I grabbed off the shelf when I bought it. I liked it and I continue to buy it. Again, I had mentioned before, it was recommended by my doctor. I use the Penitin cream. I had bought it in the round tin. It's a very, very thick. It's very thick. And I just found it was very difficult to use. So then I was combining the Vaseline with the the Penitin cream. I don't when I'm using this because this is very creamy. There's a lot of strong opinions about Vaseline. Some people do not like Vaseline. They do not think we should be using Vaseline. For me, for my quality of life, yes, I'm using Vaseline. Vaseline is my friend, and it's very budget friendly. And I'm not using these products because they are budget friendly. I can't remember how much this cost. Like this may have been about like 12, 13, $14 at a pharmacy. This is just what works for me. So I'm going to continue to use it. I did last time, I couldn't find the Penitin cream. So I had picked this up at the pharmacy and I've used this before. It's just a generic brand. Sorry about this. So zinc oxide. I like the texture of this too. It's very creamy. And this was very cheap. I think this was like $5. But when I'm done this, yes, I'll be picking up some Penitin cream. And I do use a coconut oil as well, and I'm not married to one brand, just whatever I can find on the shelf, I will get coconut oil and use that as a barrier. I really like it. When I am traveling, I will keep small bottles, small containers in a travel bag. So I keep this container in my purse. Funny story, my daughter saw this bag one time and she says, "Mom, why do you have a marijuana bag?" I said, "It's not marijuana, it's aloe vera plants. Don't you think so?" Every time I look at it now, I think about marijuana. I try not to anybody to see this. So I bought at this store a bunch of like small containers like this. And so when just every like in this bag every day, I always make sure I put my club, not really my clobetasol I carry around every day when I'm in town, like in my community, but I have the Penitin cream in here. So I always make sure that I have some, especially when I'm at work. I can like it's with me and I can use it. Also, when I am traveling, I'll have small containers like that that does have the clobetasol in it and some coconut oil, just because you're not carrying big containers. And when you're flying, you don't always have the room for that. So I always make sure they're in the smaller containers. I used to label them, but now I know obviously coconut oil. I know what it is when I'm looking at it, those clear containers. I know the difference between the clobetasol and the barrier cream. Like the consistency is different. One's an ointment, one's a cream. Um, Once in a while, and I keep these on hand. And again, I'm not married to a certain brand, but these are the wipes. I always make sure I get unscented though, just so I have them in the house if I need them. I will take a couple out of here, wrap them up, like put them in a baggie to keep them moist, and I'll throw them in my purse. Or especially when I'm traveling, I'll keep this in here, like I'll wrap them in, put them in a baggie or saran wrap just to keep them moist, just so you have them, because you're not always able to carry, like say, a Perry bottle. I don't like to carry the Perry bottle. So that is a couple tips for when you're traveling. And again, in the morning, I will use for all my menopause mamas, I use an estrogel. This really has nothing to do. I was using the estrogel before I was diagnosed, but I rub this on my arms in the morning. Again, some difference of opinions in whether to use hormone replacement therapy or not. Again, for my quality of life, I was getting very severe night sweats, a lot of hot flashes, and I needed something. So my doctor was really good, explained all the pros and cons, the risks. He felt I was at very low risk. I believe I started using this around the age 50, and I'm 60 now. I had a hysterectomy shortly before I turned 50. I may have been like 48, 49. I can't remember the year. Um, and then I started to go into menopause. Um, and I was just walking to work one day and I just felt exhausted because I wasn't sleeping. And I just thought, I got to do something. Went to the doctor and this has actually worked quite well. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else. Oh, in the shower, I will use this product, the Cetaphil. Not for like the whole body. I just use like plain ivory soap. I don't use anything that's scented. I will use this in the vulva area. it works very well. And so this was recommended by my doctor as well, and she had given me some samples in this small bottle. So I have a couple of these small bottles, and I will use them for travel. It's just much more convenient. You know, sometimes in a pinch, if I don't have it, as long as I'm just using a soap that's unscented and not harsh, I'm good with that. If you are traveling and you have no bathtub, you have no shower wand, just using a warm face cloth and holding it in the area, again, in a pinch, just to make sure that area is clean, is a great option. So when I talk about my AM care, again, my symptoms had been very severe. So just trying to figure out what was working for me and what was not. Um, I'm not perfect. There are times where I, get away from using the Perry bottle, and sometimes there's no like after effects. Sometimes I pay for it and I go into a flare. The one thing I have learned, I did, I believe this is a fellow Canadian who wrote this book, Stephanie Herichuk. I'm not sure if I'm saying that. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. I bought this book and I read it, and it's a very good book. It's got some really good tips in there. And one thing she discussed in there, and I think I bought this book about 4 years ago. One thing she discussed in here was really building up that skin, really building up the skin. And that's one thing I really didn't get at first. Like I would have a flare, it could be good for a day, and then it would be, it could be bad. It's maintaining, it's building up that tissue, right? It's maintaining the good tissue of the vulvar perianal area. You want to maintain a good, clean tissue. That's to prevent the flares. So as soon as I feel a flare, I'm on top of that right away. And that's where, again, I have to be consistent with my routine. I do have some other modifications I do. I'll talk about that in future videos. I'm hoping in my next video to talk about, what I do after AM care. And then some other strategies I use. So it can be very challenging. It can be very isolating when you're trying to figure out all of how to manage your symptoms. My last video, I talked about my road to retirement, and my husband had looked at it and he said, "Hey, what are you selling? Are you selling retirement or are you selling lichen sclerosus?" And basically, my channel, I really wanted to gear towards lichen sclerosus because that was, I was going on YouTube myself. I really wanted somebody to talk about the nitty gritty, like just symptom management, some of the messy stuff that's involved with lichen sclerosus. And I had found some videos and then just really wish that there was more of that from just every day from uh, an everyday person who's experiencing it. So that's why I started the channel. And so I do hope that you find some of my information helpful. Early in on my diagnosis, like that first year had been very much of a struggle. I've never really experienced depression in my life. There was a couple days when early in the diagnosis, the flares were so bad. I'd be walking around in pain, extreme pain, and I just kept thinking, is this what life is going to be like? Is it going to be like this every day? I just felt like I couldn't do nothing. I was wearing, it was, believe that was the summer of 2020. I'd be wearing skirts, going commando underneath the skirts, just anything, just trying to calm the area down. And I did notice a couple days that, wow, my mood is really low. Like I feel like I'm in a dark hole. I was able to climb out and I don't want to go back there. And that's where finding what works for you and finding community and finding some strategies and taking care of your physical and mental health. And that's not always easy in our day-to-day lives. We all get quite busy. I'm part of the sandwich generation, and I'm on the go a lot. Just finding time to take care of myself can sometimes be a bit of a challenge. And that's what we need to learn to do, right? Is to take care of ourselves. So happy Canada Day. Happy Wednesday. Here's to health and happiness, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye now.